What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel. Special guest joining us today, Chris Crawford from the RotoWire team joining us. Chris, we appreciate your time. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing good. Well, the news
Great.
broke last night. I mean, we're going to do a Giants series preview here, but some breaking news last night that Dodgers rookie prospect Emmet Sheehan getting promoted was technically promoted from AAA, although he never appeared at AAA. Sixth round pick in 2021, never made a top 100 list, but kind of made a jump this season. When you and I were on this morning, I was like, this is perfect, Chris, because you've got MILB in your Twitter handle. So give me what you have on Emmet Sheehan and kind of how you feel about this decision for the Dodgers.
Well, it's mostly that it's in my handle just because I'm just not very good. I don't feel like I'm deserving it. No, I'm just kidding. I have covered prospects for a long time. And I heard a lot of things about Sheehan that are very positive. I mean, a 1.86 ERA in AA is very impressive. 88 strikeouts and 53 in the third innings. This guy was a sixth-round pick out of Boston College, which is kind of an underrated program, by the way. They've done a nice job of developing some pro talents. Fastball is elite on the 2080 scale. We're talking about a 70 pitch, can get up to 99 miles per hour, has riding life, 94 to 97, typically sitting in that range. And he throws a changeup that's a plus pitch already. And it comes from the same arm speed as that fastball, which is huge. That is something that you're going to see create some deception. And there's some late life to the pitch. I would expect many gifts of that changeup over the coming years. He used to throw a curveball. The Dodgers kind of had him scrap that. It's more slider now. He'll occasionally show a softer version of it. I guess if I have one concern about Sheehan, it's that he does have control issues. And we did see Gavin Stone, his command issues this year. It certainly didn't have him in 2022, but the command issues were an issue for him at times in his starts this year. 22 walks in his last 44 innings for Sheehan is far from elite, but this guy has electric stuff. I think this is a relatively soft landing with all due respect to the San Francisco lineup that's been playing a little bit better. I'm really excited to see what Sheehan does, and I would be excited in terms of from a betting standpoint about him facing this Giants lineup as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting decision. The Dodgers, as many people that have followed the team, they had Landon Knack and Emmet Sheehan, both pitching prospects who were in AA, both got promoted to AAA. Neither has appeared. Knack felt like he was a little bit above just because he was drafted higher. He's quicker to go to the 40-man roster, or excuse me, the Rule 5. He needs to be protected at the end of this season. But my guess is it's just the velocity. I mean, Sheehan's throwing at 99 mile an hour, touching 99 with his fastball. Do you think the success of Bobby Miller, who we're going to get to here in a moment, do you think the success of Bobby Miller maybe tilted the scales in Sheehan's favor just because of what velocity does at a major league level?
It certainly doesn't hurt. Absolutely. And I do think the fact that he does have that more powerful raw stuff is certainly a big benefit for him in that regard. Now, Knack isn't a soft tosser. He's a guy who can get up to 95 miles per hour, and he throws all of his pitches for strikes. I just think it's more of a case of, in this situation, the stuff being more ready to go. Like, Knack certainly has the better command. He has probably the best command of any starter in the system, to be honest with you, not including Bobby Miller now, whose command just has taken such a massive improvement in 2023. And I know we'll talk about him in a second, but I think that does play into it. The fact that that this guy is going to be able to throw some fastballs by a lineup that can swing and miss with the best of them in those Giants. They have some contact guys too, but I do think that plays into it. The fact that the pure raw stuff for Sheehan is just a little bit better at this point, and they'll hope that the command is good enough to make it play.
Well, it'll be exciting. Let's talk about some of these matchups in particular. Tonight, the Dodgers again versus the Giants. Dodgers are favored, minus 145 on the money line. The total is 9. Giants do come in having won 4 games in a row. They've scored 36 runs over those last 4 games and only allowed 14. I'm curious for you, Chris, when you look at a matchup like this one tonight. So not only are the Dodgers starting a guy who's making his debut, and I always tell people, the stuff is electric. The AA numbers are ridiculous. 41 strikeouts in 24 innings for Sheehan in the month of May. Incredible stuff. And yet, Gavin Stone was one of the top pitching prospects in all of Major League Baseball and came up and really struggled. So it's kind of like we've seen as Dodger fans the absolute extremes. Bobby Miller comes up and is dramatically better at the major league level than he was ever in the minor league level. And then Gavin Stone's the exact opposite. He comes up and struggled mightily and actually has gone down to the minor leagues and struggled. So I'm curious. They're starting a rookie. The Dodgers are. They're coming off of an 11-inning victory in which I think there's positive momentum. They went down 4-0. The bullpen, which has been a mess, gave them 6 one-hit innings. They win. They bring up the rookie. There's positive momentum. When you look at a game like tonight, which weighs more in your mind? Is it the rookie making his major league debut and maybe tempering expectations? Or is it, hey, this is a team that's coming off a big win. They're at home. They've got the excitement of a rookie. And so maybe you're leaning even more towards the Dodgers than you normally would.
I think it's somewhere in between. I think I'm mainly excited for the Dodgers, to be honest with you, in this lineup because of what's happening with the Giants pitching wise. John Brebbia going to be opening, and then you look like Sean Manaea going to be the bulk guy. Not a huge fan of Sean Manaea, and a guy who has just not avoided barrels at all this year. So it's mostly about, yeah, the Dodgers do have some momentum. I do like the fact that they're going to, I think, get a little bit of boost from an MLB debut. Obviously, it hasn't worked out with Stone, but we've seen guys like Bryce Miller and other starters this year get the call up and give their team a little bit of a push. And look, Sheehan stuff is better than Gavin Stone's. Gavin Stone's stuff, like that change is ridiculous. There's no question about it. And he got plenty of swings and miss. I think we saw that the stuff isn't quite ready yet. There is still some stuff that he needs to work on. I think that they're going to probably have to tinker with that delivery a little bit as well. But just the fact that I think Sheehan's going to be pitching, yeah, that's going to help. And that's going to be an interesting little development. But it's more about the fact that I just don't trust Brebbia and Manaea against that loaded Dodgers lineup. I'm going to bet on that Dodgers lineup whenever possible. And when you're going to face a pitcher as mediocre as Manaea is, I think I'm betting on that.
Yeah, so 4.5 is the Dodgers team total as far as runs. So if you want the Dodgers minus 110 basically to score 5 or more runs, it sounds like maybe that's the move because Sheehan is sort of a wild card. I mean, you could try and bet the total and say, hey, rookie pitcher, busy bullpen. You know, if you think the Dodgers is going to score 5 or 6 runs, then maybe the total at 9 is a number you look at. But I kind of lean with you. With the rookie pitcher, it's usually more of a stay away from me because
Sure.
I don't know which direction it could go. So I'd probably lean just Dodgers team total, maybe a couple hitter props to parlay a couple guys to get a hit, something like that. That's probably where I would go. It sounds like we're in agreement on that.
Yeah, 100%. I'd be looking to, bet some over on some Dodgers, especially the right-handed hitters, the on-base totals, like guys like Mookie Betts and of the like that you want to get you're obviously betting on Mookie Betts whenever you can. But you want to see what the odds are before you do that. But I'm betting on those right-handers to do well against these guys. I mean, I'm just looking at Manaea's Savant page right now. He's in the bottom 5 percentile in avoiding barrels. He is average exit velocities near the bottom of the league as well. Expected ERA in the 14th percentile. He has missed bats, strikeout percentage in the 80th percentile, and he does get good extension with that fastball. The time I really liked Manaea, and he was a really interesting guy when he was with the A's. The trade to the Padres hasn't worked out, and so far I believe like a 5.52 ERA on the season. Yeah, that's just not going to get it done. And it's a guy who's going to probably have a little bit of a short leash. It's going to be more a bullpen game than like getting Manaea ahead of an opener. So you're going to see him for a couple of innings. But I think the Dodgers can take advantage of that. I would absolutely be betting the over on this game. And it has less to do with Sheehan. I think he's going to pitch well. It has absolutely more to do. Sorry to pile on you, Sean Manaea. I'm just not betting on you on this day.
Yeah, and looking at some of the hitter props, you can get guys like JD Martinez, Will Smith, Mookie Betts. You can get the over 1.5 total bases, all at plus money on those 3 guys. So if you want to bet on those guys to get a couple hits or just one extra base hit, that could be the move as well. Heading into the weekend, we've got Bobby Miller for the Dodgers on Saturday, Tony Gonsolin on Sunday. We referenced Miller a little bit. You and I have not talked about Bobby Miller, so I'd love to just hear your perspective on, as somebody who follows prospects, you knew the hype, and here's a guy that there's no way to put it other than he has blown the hype out of the water so far.
Sure.
Do you believe what he's done so far? I'm not saying 1 earned run in 18 innings or whatever is sustainable, but I mean, do you think that the success that he has had to some degree is actually sustainable from here on out for Bobby Miller?
I do. And now I would expect some blips in the road. You'll have to take a little bit of bitter with the better. I like to say that quite a bit, but the stuff is so legit. Like this guy, when he was coming out of Arizona, the only reason he fell in the draft was he going to throw enough strikes to be a starter? Like it was obvious that Bobby Miller could become like an elite relief pitcher. And I think that's what a lot of people had as the plan for him. But so much for that, because he's a strike throwing machine now. And he has just looked so good. He gets such good extension on that fastball. So many swing and miss pitches. Fastball averaging 99 miles per hour, and his delivery is so much more compact than it was when he started at Louisville. Excuse me, I always confuse him with another starter from Arizona. But a 90-mile-per-hour slider, which as a 40-year-old, I'm still not over. Like that used to be an above-average fastball. The fact that that is a pitch, that a breaking ball that could be that high, is absolutely insane. I just want to see the command be a little bit more consistent. He's getting a ton of hitters to swing at pitches outside of the zone, so I think that's going to be a big one for him. But his pure stuff is so good that I'm going to bet on that. And I've talked to a bunch of scouts with it too. Like, you saw this in 2022, or the start of 2022. Like, it looked like he really had a shot to be a pitcher for the Dodgers in 2022, and then had a bit of a mediocre season, dealt with a couple of knocks. Everything has come together this year. I am absolutely all aboard the Bobby Miller train. The Dodgers, you spend a lot of money and you get a lot of good stuff. It's a good time to be a fan of that team right now.
Yeah, and no announced starter for the Dodgers in that one. It does sound like Alex Wood, the San Francisco Chronicle, sort of hinting at that there's an expected return for Alex Wood. Is that another game where Dodgers team total, or like Wood coming off injury, is that a stay away from you? Or are you sort of like, I'd be in the business of fading Alex Wood against the Dodgers. He's a lefty. Dodgers do struggle against lefties, so it is worth pointing that out.
Sure. Yeah, I still think that you're still betting on the Dodgers heavy there. Just ride the hot streak with Bobby Miller and Alex Wood. Just, there's a ton of volatility in that. I could see him working behind an opener. We joked before we started recording, I think John Brebbia is going to make 145 starts for the Giants this year. It wouldn't shock me if he was an opener again ahead of whoever was starting in that game, or somebody else. And, I do like that Giants bullpen, and that lineup's not terrible. Like Thairo Estrada, and it does stink that they lose JD Davis and Mitch Haniger, two guys. As a Seattle Mariner fan, the Mitch Haniger injury just crushes me, because this is a guy who should have gotten a massive payday a long time ago, and unfortunately injuries, and at least he's getting a good paycheck now. But I'm excited about Luis Matos, one of the best. Talk about improved prospects. Bobby Miller versus Luis Matos. That'll be a fun little matchup to watch. One of the best hit tools of any prospect in baseball, and fun to see him at the major league level now. Still, I cannot bet against Bobby Wood at this point. I'd be tempted to take the under in that game, just because I think I could see 6 innings of one-run baseball again for Miller in that one. But looking to play some right-handed props again with those guys on top of a Dodger win. And, the 5.5 line, or the 5-inning line, might be an interesting one there as well. Just because I think the Dodgers might have a pretty good cushion in that one. If this is all incorrect, remember, Jeff Erickson will be back next week.
The 5-inning line is going to become the Dodger fans' favorite line, because you can just bet your starter. You don't have to worry about what version of the Dodgers bullpen you're going to get. It's just give me Bobby Miller versus whoever, and stay tuned, because whether or not Alex Wood actually does appear on Saturday to be determined.
Sure.
But okay, last one here. Sunday, Tony Gonsolin versus Logan Webb, and this is an interesting one. Logan Webb has struggled a bit in the month of June, 10 earned runs in his last 3 appearances over 19 innings. So good for about a 4.5 ERA, striking out less than a guy per inning over that stretch. Did pitch well against the Dodgers in his 1 appearance this year back on April 10th. 6 innings, allowed 4 runs, only 1 of them earned, 6 base runners, 6 strikeouts. On the other side, you've got Tony Gonsolin, the 1.93 ERA, coming off statistically one of his best starts, 6 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs. The question with Gonsolin is the stuff. The velocity continues to be down. It was down almost 2.5 miles an hour at one point during Tuesday's start, bounced back up and then ended about 1.5 miles below his league average. And yet this is a guy, smoke and mirrors. He just keeps doing it. The ERA just stays under 2, has stayed under 2 for multiple seasons. It's a bizarre thing. So what do you like in that Gonsolin versus Webb matchup on Sunday?
So this is the one matchup, if I was betting the Dodgers, that I'd be a little wary of, because I do think Logan Webb has pitched better than his line suggests in June. And Tony Gonsolin, to bring it back and show again my age here, has had a little bit of a Brett Saberhagen-y feel for his last few starts. A lot of on and a lot of off. He's alternated, over his last 5 2/3 innings of 3 runs of baseball against Atlanta, 6 innings of 1-run baseball against Washington, 5 innings of 3-run baseball in Cincinnati, 6 innings of shutout baseball against the White Sox. Now, look, Atlanta and pitching in Cincinnati, that absolute cesspool of a pitching park, is not an easy thing to do. But you have seen a little bit of inconsistency from him. I do think Gonsolin's due for a little bit of regression too, but
Yeah.
I still I think the Dodgers are just a much more talented team.
Yeah.
But Logan Webb is a solid starting pitcher that did pitch well, like you said, against the Giants his last time out. Um, he just gets no spin on that fastball whatsoever, and that just scares the heck out of me from a fantasy perspective, because if you square it up, it can go an awful long way, but he throws a ton of strikes. Dodgers pretty patient lineup, but still I think that's a little bit of a stay away game for me on this one. I'd be probably looking to bet the under in this one, just because of, I do think that if the Dodgers score as many runs as I expect in the next couple of games, and after scoring 5 in the previous one, I think that we could see a little bit of a lower scoring game. But this is definitely, in terms of if you're expecting the Dodgers to win, if you were betting the Dodgers to win a game, this would be the one I'd probably steer clear of.
There you go. There you go. Well, that's Chris Crawford over from RotoWire. We appreciate you, Chris. We appreciate your input on this one. Interesting series. Dodgers, Giants, as I mentioned, Giants have won 4 in a row. And I look at the standings real quick. Giants just 2.5 games back of the Dodgers. So if this series were to somehow go sideways, my Sunday Night Live Dodgers show might not be a very fun one, Chris. But it sounds like we both agree that we think this should be a series the Dodgers would expect to win at least 2. Maybe the Logan Webb on Sunday game is a little bit tougher, but with Bobby Miller on the mound Saturday and against a bullpen game on Friday, you hope that the Dodgers can come out of those 2 with a victory. So again, that's Chris. You can follow him at Crawford_MILB. Check out his stuff over at RotoWire. Again, we appreciate them partnering with us on these Friday shows to preview the weekend series and talk through all sorts of stuff. And as I said, Chris, the perfect guy to have on for Emmet Sheehan's debut. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we appreciate your time this morning.
You bet.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. As always, go Dodgers.